This is Stewart in the Studio, the podcast where mortgage professionals stay ahead of the curve with expert guidance from Stewart's thought leaders. I'm your host, Marvin Stone, and each month we dive into trends, topics, and tech to transform your business. Let's do this. Well, hey everyone, welcome to Stewart in the Studio. I'm Marvin Stone, and today we have both of our regulars in the room. Rich, why don't you kick us off with just 30 seconds on who you are and what you're working on here at Stewart?
Hi, Marvin. Yeah, Rich Kugler. I'm the Director of Client Success here at Stewart Lender Services. Just coming off a very busy conference season. And a lot of the key focus was really on helping lenders understand how they can plan for expanded loan volume, looking at capacity and efficiency in their productivity for the origination process, particularly in home equity, which is continuing to emerge as a big channel.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Rich. TJ, let's do the same for you.
Good afternoon, TJ Harrington, product strategy for Stewart Lender Services. As Rich was busy with conferences, we've been having conversations around both originations and servicing work, both performing and non-performing servicing. We see a lot of consumer pain in the market right now with default rates ticking up and trying to find the most efficient solutions to reduce servicing costs and drive outcomes.
Yeah, sounds great. So, Rich, I know you've been on the road or in the air lately, number of conferences and several sort of high-level meetings with some of the top IMBs in the market. Can you just share kind of the outlook and conversation, maybe a little bit about what they're thinking about technology and AI?
Oh, certainly. There's not a time or not a meeting that goes by where AI is not a topic and not a topic of large conversation and large interest. I think there's going to be a ton of investment in really exploring the potential for AI in a number of different facets of the business. I think the most common one right now is really agentic AI. So how can you help improve the customer experience by introducing models or leveraging that technology from a productivity standpoint? But there's also a number of back office capabilities and really data capabilities that are really being discussed at very high levels that I think we're going to see a lot more of, and probably talk a little bit about today, if I'm not mistaken, Mark.
You're good that way. And so, TJ, I know, like Rich, you're always got your finger on the pulse of the technology in the industry, but also I know you talk to regulators, talk to people in compliance, all different levels. What are some of the challenges you're hearing? I mean, or are you hearing challenges from lenders, like what to do about AI?
Yeah, it's really interesting. There's something coming out of the administration now being floated as a test balloon around outlawing offshore call centers, which is pushing everybody in the world, as Rich just said, to agentic AI for call center work. And it's really, really interesting. I think the name of the game is really going to be building the guardrails and the governance around AI to be successful, to take on more tasks and to make sure there's not bias or other regulatory issues that pop up as the models get more sophisticated. I think that's really what people are struggling with today, where they see the use cases to say, hey, this AI application is well suited to what I could do from a replacement or efficiency standpoint. But again, what are the rules of the road? What is the governance? How do we do compliance, QA, QC testing? How do we do regulatory testing? How do we ensure that anything touches consumers works the right way and delivers the right outcomes?
Wow, those are the things you never hear about in this whole AI hype cycle. That's all the hard work that gets done. So that brings us to Andrew. So Andrew Komaromi, thank you so much for being our guest today. You're here at Stewart in the Stewart Valuation Group, and for those who aren't familiar, Stewart Valuation Intelligence is one of the top AMCs in the country, and really an early adopter in the AI space, not just in terms of getting headlines and things like that, but really in terms of making a difference in the experience for lenders and internal staff as well. So Andrew, with that, give us just the 30-second high level about who you are and what you do here at Stewart.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks. Happy to be here. Appreciate the invite, and always fun chatting with you all here. So I've been part of the organization in some capacity since 2009. I head up the Senior Director of Data, AI, and Automation. So it's a really fun, cool job here. I get to solution and look for what we can do to help all the humans here, facilitating all the orders that commit. What can our team build? What kind of tools can we roll out? We spend a lot of time thinking, a lot of time dreaming, and a fair bit of time building. And it's nice to see when we execute. Hey, look at that! We got that much better quality, or we got that much stronger in the turn time, or just made the borrower's life and the lender's life that much easier. So yeah.
I like that, helping the humans. I think that that gets put on a T-shirt or something somewhere. So we'll preview the conversation and kind of talk about where we're going today to sort of set the expectations. So first, we'll start, kind of talking about why SVI looked at AI. Why did the organization really look at AI as a possible solution, or really more of an opportunity, I would say, and then really kind of get down to the core tenets of the SVI approach, like. I've heard a lot about vibe coding. Do you just pick up and start coding something, or what does that really look like exactly? And then really talk about your Sage solution as sort of the right seat, or since you're a commercial pilot, maybe the co-pilot. I know that's an often used term. But then I really want to dig into the responsible AI piece. Every large organization talks about responsible AI. So that's always where, if the conversation doesn't start there, it ends there. So let's start with the big picture. So most everybody's heard about vibe coding, and AI can write software, write code for you now. So why did you guys take sort of I think you took sort of a deliberate approach. Tell me a little bit about your approach and kind of why you took that approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, so we've been doing AI, and honestly, in some capacity, since at least 2010 in some form for another. So, I mean, all of this starts with data and being able to kind of augment our team with insights. So, I mean, I came in, looked at the processes. Again, this is going back to 2009, 2010, 2011, and we have so much data out there. We can really look at some patterns, start looking for pattern recognition, and start looking for some predictive analytics there. And all of this is just kind of meant, like you said, as a co-pilot, we're trying to augment the person who's actually either managing the order, assigning, finding the best appraiser for this assignment, looking at the quality control on this, right? An order comes in, what do we really have to look at to have this be a clean, high quality review? Because, you can't inspect quality to something. So, our team is there, they're making those judgment calls. They're experts, they're licensed appraisers, but can we put tools in their hands there? A lot of that started back with IMD. So that's the integrated market data engine that we rolled out years ago at this point. And that whole format and that whole formula really built like the foundation for us, and kind of laid that machine learning, it's not quotes, that's actual term, but the machine learning groundwork there. In comes 2018, 2019, 2020, OpenAI, ChatGPT, everyone starts really using these models. And you suddenly kind of took this sort of sciencey kind of backrooms, behind the scenes approach, and everybody has access to it now. So now there's this potential for a lot more to do with it, kind of democratize it. So that comes with obviously some risks, which I know we'll talk about. Responsible AI also comes with huge opportunities. So, I mean, looking at the foundation we'd already built, it seemed like a natural shoe-in to start looking at these models and think, well, this is the next step. And, we are consistently and continuously looking for how we can help guide our human team, help the humans. So if there's a tool out there, we want to explore, we want to build it, and we want to iterate on it. So, I mean, that's really where we're kind of, it started. It wasn't even like, why are we doing AI? We've kind of always been doing it. And this just gave us that many more tools, right? We've got your big ones out there, Gemini, Anthropic, Claude, ChatGPT, and a host of others. So really, it was just a natural stepping stone for us. And I'm very excited about what we've built and where we are looking to keep developing that, right? I mean, at the day, it just comes down to the lender, borrower, and how we make their lives easier.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I've got, in a conversation with TJ and Rich in the past, we were talking about like, what does AI do for you that the traditional coding approach can't do? And then really now the commercial models are so strong. You mentioned Claude and ChatGPT and these others, they're so strong and they have billions invested in them. So what does AI do for you that you couldn't do in either the traditional approach or just an off-the-shelf AI tool?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. AI kind of really helps us dream, right? So you have that creativity there. You've got the ideas. You're talking. In my role, I get to talk to a little bit of everybody at SVI. That's the assignment team. That's the client relations team. It's the QC team. It's the sales folks. It's everybody. And so, as you hear these, you know, roadblocks people are trying to solve. And boy, if I can only do this, we would get this done faster. If only I had this. So now you have the ability here. And I almost prefer someone else coined this here, so I can't take full credit for it, but I've kind of mainstreamed it, but co-develop. So, I think vibe coding implies you're kind of just in the back seat there. But if you're co-developing and back to the co-pilot, right seat kind of expert there, it's having like a super capable person next to you, that you could say, I've got this idea. I want to build a platform that can do this and that can do that. And it will kind of just do it for you. And it's absolutely not in its native sense production ready, but it helps you kind of suss out these ideas. It's something that would have taken, our group 1, 3, 6 months, maybe a year or two to sort of brainstorm and test and build and whatever. You can get that done now realistically in a matter of, in some cases, in a matter of hours. If we're looking for a new, hey, I need something that can do this, let's type it up and see if it has speed, if it works. So, that's the whole co-development aspect of it. And, again, they're only as good as how you prompt these things and the care you take with it. So it's by themselves, they're not, they're not the end all be all. So I think it's something that's been a really fun process with our team, is just that whole co-development and what's the right context, what's the right prompt. And then, like I said, taking something, we have a nice kind of test development environment here. We can host it, post it up, share it with our group, and kind of rapidly iterate it, see if something has legs or not. We can sort of try 10, 15, 20 ideas in the span of a week and see which one might land.
Yeah, really.
So
You've got such an interesting place. Obviously, Stewart is a very large publicly traded organization, large IT operations, many IT operations and development operations throughout the company. And yours is dedicated specifically to Stewart Valuation Intelligence. But lending is highly, and TJ, I'm going to ask you to kind of weigh in on this.
Yeah.
Lending is highly regulated, regardless of what type of lender you are, whether you're a commercial bank or an IMB, what have you, or that's on one side. And then on the other side, appraisal, that's obviously the place where SVI sits. How do you see the intersection of that when it comes to guardrails? How in tune are lenders really with the guardrails needed in something like this?
It's getting more and more attention, Marvin. And I think, to what Andrew said, the idea of driving your frontline folks to be able to innovate and say, what problems are you facing today? And here's a tool that can help you figure that out. That's fantastic. And the idea of AI, of making your most productive people even more productive, makes your best people better. So that, from like an employee enablement perspective, is, I think, low hanging fruit. What you get into trouble or challenges with from a governance perspective is when you're taking wholesale tasking off rather than just enabling a human. You're taking a wholesale loan processing, underwriting, having conversations about it. The conversation really around AI, like for maybe 2 years ago, was really, really interesting, because you saw real estate agents using these public model AIs in lieu of providing real estate services. And, some of those things were wrong. There was ghosts in the systems. There were wrong answers. There was mismeasurement. And the departments that regulate real estate agents were like, well, whose neck do we wring? We want to have a responsible party. And you go, oh, it's Claude, it's Grok. It's Grok's fault. And so really, you can't blame the model. And ultimately, regulators are saying, we need a responsible party. Who's the licensed party that's going to be the one who holds the risk associated with the use of AI? And lenders and other constituents in the market are very sensitive to it. And so they're building out the routines and guardrails now. They're hiring the consultancies to say, hey, what is the playbook? What are our policies and procedures for AI governance? How do we manage it like we do for standard development today? What is the testing? What does it look like? What is the QA QC routines? Just like we do call samples for call centers, what are we doing for AI? What are we doing to make sure that the way that we're touching consumers works the right way? So I think there's a whole infrastructure and industry being built around the governance side that's, I think, evolving as fast as AI is evolving our businesses today.
Yeah, really well said.
I think you can almost, excuse me, Martin, I think I was going to say, you can almost look at it like the implementation of any new technology into the mortgage process, where there might be a great promise of, there's a ton of efficiency to be gained, there's a ton of advances to be made, but at the same time, all of that needs to be metered against the requirements of the market, against the regulatory framework that the market works within, and then also the needs of investors and that community as well, to make sure we've got something that's sound, or I should say that takes our sound principles and can deploy them better through some type of a technology advancement. And that's I think where the challenge is right now, is the rush to implement all these efficiency tools, to Andrew's point, and at the same time make sure you're not running yourself into a spot where you run afoul of any regulatory requirement and put yourself in a potentially riskier situation than you were before.
And at the risk of calling somebody out in the market right now, what we see in the servicing side of the world is the rise of Valen, which is an AI native servicing application, kind of challenging MSP for hegemony in the servicing space. And they're still working and rolling out their default modules. They're not default enabled today. And I think part of that is the need to be so careful where you're touching at-risk consumers in the default space. So I think they're getting there. What they've rolled out is incredibly impressive. And from a speed of development, change management, et cetera, they're doing it the right way. But one of the benefits of MSP has been that it's had the tires kicked and every regulator knows how it works and are comfortable with it. And it's 1970s best technology with COBOL. And so you know that the mainframe works and the data works and it's predictable. And so part of this, I think you see innovation at the edge cases first, where maybe you see IMBs and others roll in technology, this new innovation. And as it gets to the more core banking, as the regulators get savvy to it, as it develops and the governance and the infrastructure develops, you begin seeing bigger players adopt the more sophisticated systems.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I really like your point on human enablement, because that's exactly what we're trying to drive our team. We want to build the tools. Like, hey, I need this tool that can do this. You show up with the hammer at a job site. It's not going to do the job for you. It's going to make it a lot easier than try to hammer that nail in with like a piece of wood or whatever. So that's it's very easy to say, just have AI do it. Fuck, you can't just.
Yeah, right.
It's not possible, right? And that's where you run afoul. So we're winning by inches, right?
And that's the thing. You guys are in SVI. You guys are evolving enablement for your teams, which means you do more with the same people. That the route items are sucked out of the daily life of a worker. They're concentrated on highest and best use of their skills and abilities. And I think that the business tools for AI, that's a no-brainer. That's the lowest hanging fruit is human enablement. And I think when you move beyond that to whole processes or having AI run the show in certain places, where you begin to run into some of the concerns.
So that sets the stage for everything SVI is building. Basically, we're going to come back after a short break and we'll dig into Sage a little deeper, and we'll talk about really the core tenets of SVI's approach to AI, the unifying intelligence layer. Andrew, how you bring it all together. We're going to talk about where those decisions come into play and how they matter. And then we're going to talk about how you've built this, not just vibe coding, but really built it for scale and control. So we'll be right back after this message.
We are proud to welcome Nationwide Appraisal Network, now part of Stewart Valuation Intelligence. Nationwide Appraisal Network brings over 20 years of experience and a reputation built on trust, service, and deep market knowledge. The people behind that legacy and how they serve clients are vital. Stewart brings advanced valuation intelligence, AI-powered insights, and workflows that drive speed, consistency, and smarter decisioning. Together, we bring proven expertise and expanded national capacity across appraisal management and valuation solutions. That means the same trusted service, now enhanced with data-driven intelligence and capabilities to handle high volume and complexity with confidence. Nationwide Appraisal Network, now part of SVI. One partner, ready for what's next.
Well, welcome back, everybody. So, Andrew, let's dive in on some of those, really the core tenets here. So let's talk about how AI is used specifically to connect people, data, processes, so you create more consistency across that valuation lifecycle.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the core tenet behind all of this, if I just sum it up into one kind of statement, we are keeping that human there in the driver's seat. People, they have that qualitative experience, the expertise. So you're staying in that driver's seat. However, what we can do with our team here is, like you said, unify the data, the processes, all these kind of disjointed things that might live, and you click here, now go there and now email this person, now check this document. That's where we can build a model, which will lead into Sage that seeks to unify all those things. So you've got the LLM you can touch that you could chat with. And in the background, that's doing a lot of these like fancy automations to assist the person. So what may have taken 10, 15, 20 clicks to go through, check X, check Y, go here and there. A lot of this is just happening in the background. So your next task has already been kind of nicely polished up. It's still up to you to take it across the finish line, but you're not having to, you're not having to go out in the field and grow the wheat, mill it down and all that stuff. Giving you a nice, pretty, like piled up set of ingredients, right? Maybe the water's already boiling. It's all there for you to get it done.
So you're saying AI is your sous chef at SVI?
I do have a model that I was building on. Like, here's what's in my fridge, and it kind of knows the foods we like. So it's definitely sometimes it inspires. But no.
So Andrew, the way I understand it with Sage is not only something of basically a very targeted chat experience that your employees can use to get very specific information about any rule, any transaction, basically anything in the whole SVI ecosystem, and it's embedded into existing workflows. It does work behind the scenes. Is that accurate?
That's exactly right. So on the front side, we wanted to cut down on, making an educated guess or having to, like most of us, honestly, a lot of us are remote. So it's not so easy to just ping the person at the desk next to you. And now you're shooting Teams, now you're shooting whatever message. So if I want to check with some expert source on, hey, this house has X gallons per minute flow rate on a well, is this okay? I'm no longer having to do like the Control F, the peck and hunt, Google, open up some huge PDF. It just has the model, and it's going to tell me yes or no, and it's going to give me that reference. So if I don't believe it or whatever, I want to have the actual source for whatever reason, it can take me down to the exact regulation, the exact internal policy and procedure, or whatever precedent it has to them. So it's not using general knowledge, it's using all of our own policies, procedures, and all the data we fed it. And it can get down to the specifics of, I'm working on order 1, 2, 3, and it knows everything about that order, and you can ask it for details around that. So it's a step beyond just like a kind of a customized chat, for lack of a better word. That's only a small part of it. So the whole brain, it's what's driving a lot of our automations. You mentioned the agentic actions, a lot of these things coming in, somebody reaches out and they maybe need, some updated instructions for getting out to the property. There was a massive storm and the roads flooded. They need 2 more days to get out there. A lot of these things, we can trigger several events already. So when it comes up to that assigned person's desk, or the person managing it, they can, they've already gotten a lot of that done. They can just click 2 buttons, double check it, verify it, and make it happen. They're not having to kind of do all that legwork themselves. They just kind of taking it over the finish line.
Yeah, no, that's great. Fred Eppinger, our CEO across Stewart, often says, the goal is to be the premier company as a service provider and a partner in this industry. And one of the ways we do that, I think, is just by having the right answer faster. And when you talk about having to look through documentation and Control F to find something, we have all the information. It's just finding it is challenging in any organization. It doesn't matter what industry. So I think that's where a lot of it, connecting the policies, connecting the processes, providing the context, all those controls in there. That's where it seems like SVI Sage plays almost like this hidden hero that you don't really see necessarily, but it's just making everything more accurate and faster across the board. So you have better decisions earlier in the process, fewer downstream issues and surprises. I mean, it sounds like it's just better all the way around.
That's exactly right. I mean, and that's true through assignment, through QC. So again, it's not just the channel tool. Is this flow rate good? Or, is this easement okay? It's the actual specific orders itself. It's what we've learned from our lenders, right? Every time we get some feedback back in an order, that's part of the model now, and we know what to look for in the future. So it's all in there.
So let me ask you a question, kind of going back to comments that Rich and TJ have made about the guardrails and things like that. If I'm a lender and I have if I'm a lender, I don't really know your system, but I'm assuming this goes through all the governance of Stewart, all the security. We're, a New York Stock Exchange traded company, so the security controls are very tight. But one of the things that's really been making the news lately with all these new models coming out on the commercial side is things change. So a model that may work today, like I think Claude Opus 4.6 was very intuitive, and then they released 4.7 and it's very literal. So how do you protect against changes like that? I mean, your technology, I know it has to go through all these checks and controls, but what happens there? What do you do with that?
Yeah, and that is something we are keenly aware of. And when I hear people say things like, "Oh, it's a black box," that makes me cringe because it absolutely, what we're building absolutely is not, right. So explainability is the core foundation here. So we have traceback. So all of our, just for example, you ask the tool something, hey, again, going back to the flow rate of a well, for instance, we can go back in the logs and see exactly what path it went down to return that answer. So yeah, we have the reference. That's great. We can actually see what sources it pinged, where it went, how confident it was in each source. So all that's in there. We do consistently look at the kind of the accuracy of it. So there's, without getting too into weeds, the models have the capability to kind of assess their confidence and the answer it's giving you. And again, without getting too deep in the weeds, a lot of these models, they don't want to just tell you they don't know. So if you're filling out a multiple choice exam, for instance, you don't really know the answer, you're not going to leave it blank. You're still going to make your best guess on, well, what option is it on multiple choice? Models can do that too. So we're keenly aware of that. And we actively use very specific like context window prompts and all these things so that it would rather default to saying, I actually don't know this, or hey, I can't help automate this process. This has got to go fully manually, because we don't want it making that guess unless it's very, very, very sure of that guess. We'd rather just leave that blank, have it go to the person, they manage it, then just, I think it's C, and maybe it isn't, right? Because there is a lot at stake here. So we monitor this day in, day out. Our team is keenly aware of it. And we do have a broader AI council within Stewart that we run through all the responsible standard AI, document everything, all the GitHub controls, everything is well documented.
Yeah, for sure. So your AI doesn't tell me what a great idea I had, or all of that we get with some of the commercial providers out there. And
we've tried to dial that down. Yeah.
So one of the things you mentioned that I think is critically important is the AI council across Stewart. John Hamm, hats off to our CIO who put that in place very early on as others were still learning about AI. He put the entire council together. Very much a cross-discipline exercise across the entire company. And so we get a lot of insight both nationally and internationally, how AI is being used across the entire business. And all those controls are in place, which is great. So we always know, that those guardrails are there. So Rich, TJ, I'm going to bring it back to you guys to close us out. We've talked about SVI Sage. Rich, I mean, one of the things that you're always being asked about is speed. How do we get faster, but still maintain control? I mean, what's your take on everything that Andrew gave us today?
Yeah, I think it's a great example and real testament to Stewart's overall commitment to the industry and Stewart's commitment to being the premier services provider. We are in a services business, whether it's in our title operations or in our appraisal operations, and really the focus on reducing friction in that process or either of those processes is key, because our originators and our servicers and our capital markets investors, they need to have a better experience. They need to have the confidence that Stewart is a provider that's there for the long term. And I think the commitment to developing this AI technology in a very favorable and also guarded and appropriate method is really helpful in demonstrating that to our clients and also making us a better partner for our clients going forward.
Yeah, no, very well said. TJ, any final thoughts before we close out here?
I think Rich nailed it. I think that we've seen a lot of talk about investment in technology. The last 15 years, we've seen every newfangled process technology thing that's going to come out and change the world. Last time it was blockchain, a lot of hype, and I think AI is one of the ones that's catching fire because there are use cases that are changing the world. So, hats off to SVI for making that investment, and I think our clients will see the difference in the quality of the appraisals, the speed, the turn times, the cost to fulfill, the whole shoot and match. I think that across the Stewart enterprise, we're making these investments to keep pace with the pace of change in our industry, and looking forward to what tomorrow brings.
Great. And Andrew, one thing we didn't discuss, and I'll just give you 1 minute here to kind of close us out. What should we look forward to in the AI space or with Sage, either one?
So much. I wouldn't even know where to start. We have a lot of exciting things coming down the pike. Most interestingly, without giving too much of it away, but we want to get more of the upfront potentially risks of the order known when it comes in, so we can start preparing for that, and we're not finding out about it when it's time to deliver this thing. So if we can arm ourselves better up front with all that information, then that gives our assigned team, the appraiser filling it out, and our QC team that much more tools, again, in your tool bag when that order comes in, that they're able to just pass it right through to the client. What would have taken an extra 3 days a month ago is now 3 days less today. So that's what we're most focusing on at this point, is that upfront risk detection.
Great. No, that sounds exciting. I think everybody would like to eliminate more risk at the front of the transaction, certainly rather than finding out the surprises later on down the line. So, Andrew, thank you for what is probably the first zero hype AI discussion on the internet. And Rich, TJ, thanks so much as always for co-hosting this. And that's it for this episode. If you'd like more information, please visit stewartvaluation.com, and we'll look forward to having you join us again for our next episode of Stewart in the Studio. That's it for Stewart in the Studio, where mortgage professionals turn for fresh thinking and real-world solutions. Find more episodes and insights at stewart.com/lender. We'll see you next time.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and reflects the views of the speakers. It should not be considered legal or business advice, and listeners should consult their own advisors before making decisions.